I'm really happy I didn't catch the virus in the first place, the sickness in the first place.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what it means. I think the truth of it is that if I knew what all of this meant, then I would have solved the second part of what Samuel Clemens would tell us, that there's 2 days that are important in our life: the day we're born and the day we find out why. So the truth
Hmm.
of it is, if we knew why all of these things were happening, then our life would lose all meaning, right?
Yeah.
Students have asked me, and some of my students might have been doctors or something. They say, Aaron, what do you think would happen if we develop technology that will allow people to live forever? I say, and that will be the day that humanity truly meets its demise, because
Yes.
that will be the day where we stop living, basically. We stop, our desire will evaporate. If you think we're lazy now, wait until we live forever.
There would
You
be
know?
no point to learn anything
Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah, it would be a pointless existence, you
Yeah.
know. And interesting, do I predict that will happen in my lifetime? Probably, actually, but who knows? I don't know. They say that supposedly the person who's going to live to be 150 is already alive, and it's like
Yeah.
some child or some baby or some young person. So,
Yeah,
but
they say that scientifically speaking, the human body has what it needs to survive 150 years. But because of our environment, there's no possible way that can happen.
right.
And I believe it's northern India or northern Japan. There is an actual ancient tribe, and they live in upwards of 120 years right now.
Hmm. Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with your environment.
Absolutely.
Most of that.
Bruce Lipton did an excellent study back in the 70s on environmental studies.
I see. I see. Yeah, you spend a lot of time researching things. Mm-hmm.
I get a question and I have to know everything, every single aspect on the question. So
I
I
see.
dig and I dig and I dig. And I want both sides of the story if there's two sides.
Yeah, yeah, which makes the flat Earth study a good study to do, because there's so many people who are convinced that it's true. So,
Yeah.
hmm and so tell our listeners a little bit more about your YouTube channel, and what they will hope to see when they go over there. I'm going to put a link to that in the description too for you, to get people to come over to your channel. What
Thank you.
what 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 will they see if they come over to your channel?
Everything they ever wanted to see except nudity. I don't do that. But I have like I was mentioning earlier, the Tales from the Tube. It's all the wacky stuff you find on YouTube. I have an advocacy show for blindness and employment on
Hmm.
Fridays called Will See for Work. I do
Oh,
Blind
I'll
Gamer
have to
Geek
check
Out.
that out. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's
Really good. Now, is that a live you do on YouTube?
yes. I do okay, let me back up a little bit. I have three YouTube channels and it's all Star Wars based, so you'll get the references when I say it. I have Theory of a Blind Man, a new upload. I have Theory of a Blind Man, live stream strikes back. And I have Theory of a Blind Man, Return of the Gamer.
Well
So
done. Well
there's
done.
my three primary topics.
But no, what about now? Okay, fourth one you got to set up now. Theory of a blind man, flat earther.
Have you ever heard the name Mark Sargent?
Yes.
I interviewed him a while back.
Really? And he
Yeah.
was willing to interview with you?
Oh yeah. Yep. I still have the video. I kept it because I kept it because I pointed out several fallacies that he presented in his argument, but I didn't. It was basically trolling him. Actually, I made him feel comfortable, and it was a good interview. But if you really listen to it and hear what's being said, you'll hear the contradictions that he presents
Hmm.
with his own words. Being a flat earther, and he's like the flat Earth king or prince
Yeah,
or
well,
whatever they
he and
call him.
he was the one who like started this whole internet revolution of all of this,
Yes.
right? Yeah. I don't. Fascinating. Speaking of gaming, you know who else I interviewed? I interviewed Jesse Anderson.
Oh, he's on my show all the time.
Oh, whoa! Well, why isn't Aaron's opinion on your show with Jesse Anderson? We're gonna have to set something up. We
I
can't
just
just
met
let
you
that slide.
today. I just met
Well,
you today, August 10th, 2020. No, but he comes on. Yeah, so I initially interviewed him for a gamer
hmm
show, but then he had mentioned what he does for work. I was like, "Oh, you'd be great for this panel discussion that I have." And that's what the Friday show is. We'll see for work is a panel discussion. Anybody's welcome to join. So anybody
I
can
would,
come
well,
on.
I would, from the bottom of my heart, I would love to be
Excellent.
included in any one of the interesting things about podcasting that I've learned being a talk show host is a lot of this hobby, a lot of the job of radio and podcasting is you spend an enormous amount of time talking to people who aren't even
Oh
on
yeah.
your show, constantly reaching out. Hey, can I come talk to you? Can I be in this Zoom? Can I be in that?
Right.
The constant, please. So yes, please include me. If it's a live video, please, if you want, please include me.
Absolutely.
I'd be really honored to be on your panel. And I just love every opportunity there is for people to come and briefly learn about what I do in podcasting and, be
Mhm.
supportive and all that. I think that blind people need, great people like you who have a great channel, who have a great story and stuff like that. I think a lot of blind people around the world are really desperately needing something to do right now. I think a lot of blind people, quite frankly, are feeling a little bit down, mentally.
Mhm.
hmm
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, so how do you run this live show? Do you
Ooh.
live stream it on YouTube?
Yeah. So I have a little studio that I'm actually in right now. It's a little 6 foot by 6 foot canopy type of thing, and I got a mixing board and several MIDI devices for sound effects, like the music you were hearing earlier. That's how I play that. I use the Mac and a program called Ecamm Live, and that streams to whatever source that I want. And I've got intros and outros and transitions and scenes and all sorts of stuff programmed into that. So, I got my brand up here and there. When I'm doing Tales from the Tube, I'll have another screen up where there's a video screen, and then I'm in the small little portion in the bottom
hmm
left, I believe it is.
Yeah, the
So it's
corner.
yeah, I put a lot of production value as far as like visuals go, so it is captivating as well for everyone because I do want a full audience. I don't want just a blind audience because I need to be able to attract the sighted
Yeah.
people, and then when they realize that I'm blind, they're like, oh whoa, let's look up some blind people.
There's a lot of us blind YouTubers out there. There's a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
hmm Yeah. Yeah. Well, good, cool. And so then how do you basically format the meeting after you get everybody on one call? How do you set it up? Or
Usually
what is the format, I guess?
So I'll have the topic ahead of time. Then I will email that out to the panel members, whoever wants to join, so they can start pondering their noodles with it. And then the day of the show, it's usually about an hour. Sometimes it goes an hour and a half. So I'll present the question or questions in the beginning, and then we'll go around, have our individual thoughts or opinions on it, and then we'll have an open discussion, and then get to the chat of what people have to say in the chat.
Hmm. Well, listeners of Aaron's Opinion, count me in. Where
Awesome.
Aaron's Opinion is there. That's cool. Yeah, I found that I go live on Facebook on my show's page too. That's a really good way to really get the message out. People are really into
Yes.
these live streams,
Yeah.
definitely. And where have you traveled to overseas?
Nowhere overseas.
Oh, really? Okay,
hmm
interesting.
I've been all over the United States, but first place that I want to go overseas would be Ireland.
I've only heard great things. I've never been. Closest I was when I was in England,
Okay.
studying abroad. Yeah, England's a wonderful place. Services for blind people in that part of the world are really, really good, really good. I'll go to England any day, definitely.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good
What?
to know.
Why Ireland? Do you have
Family
Irish
history.
heritage?
Yeah.
Family history. Cool. Yeah. Well, I've been to Poland just because of family history, so I can understand that.
Nice.
Yeah. And yeah, been to England, France 3 times, Amsterdam, Germany, Poland, Austria, Czech Republic, Swaziland, Saint Lucia, Yeah, I volunteered in Lucia, Eastern Caribbean. That's a really interesting part of the world, the Caribbean and the island nations. It's a
Hmm.
really, really fascinating way to live, as a matter of fact. Definitely, definitely interesting reality down there, I guess.
Oh, I
We
bet.
have under 5 minutes. You've been a fascinating guest, a magnificent episode, by the way, with all the topics we've covered. Whew, gonna have to, I don't know, have a dessert tonight or something like that. I'm gonna have to recover from this one. Um, any parting words, or any? Do you have any? You've heard me talk for an hour. If you could ask me one question, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna risk it. What
Hmm.
question do you want to ask me? Go.
Oh man.
Come on. This is
What
the part where you ask a question.
what interested you about me that you wanted to have me on your show?
Sure. Yeah. I was intrigued by your studio. I was intrigued by your music, and I was intrigued by your willingness to interact with me in the live chat. I liked the interaction. This is how I pick guests. Usually, okay, I look at who's live
Mhm.
on in our groups, because the people who are live are people who are probably willing to be on a podcast, or else they wouldn't be going live.
Right.
So those are the types of people I talk to. Sometimes I'm not going to lie to you. Do I cold call people who I'm kind of interested in and say, "Hey, this is what I do. Do you want to come and talk to me?" Yeah. Sometimes they come.
Hmm.
But I find that you have to find people who are doing live streams and try to have a positive interaction and then kind of rope them into it that way. It's a really good
Yeah.
question, and that's how I pick guests. But listener, I hope that if you want to be a guest on Aaron's Opinion, we have an email address. I haven't mentioned it in a while. aaronsopinion6@gmail.com. AARONSOPINION6@gmail.com. You're welcome to email me and say, "Hey, Aaron, I loved your show you did with Whistler," or "Hey, Aaron, you need to really think about your reality. You're nuts, man. You're nuts. You're going to hell." So if you wanna write an email like that, you're more than welcome. In fact, I think in this reality, in this dimension, my email account, I have it set on this dimension where it's set up so that you can say nice things and horrible things. So see, you
Awesome.
can bless me and curse me all in one email. It's set up. I have a receiver. It's just under my desk. I could tell you about the invention, but it's a little dicey. It's a little scary. But I really welcome your emails. I really do. aaronsopinion6@gmail.com. Really welcome you to follow me on Twitter. You want more info about that, I'd really be happy to tell you. Really, and hey, consider being a Patreon. You never know. Actually, I do promise you this. If you're a Patreon and you talk to me on Patreon, you're definitely getting on this show. If you want to be a guest, if you want to participate, do all of that stuff. Send me an email. Consider being a patron. Comment below on Facebook. Comment on YouTube. Participate. Everybody's home. We don't know why. Nobody knows why everybody's home, right? Nobody knows. We don't need to scare anybody. Maybe it's the health. Maybe we just like hanging out with our family, or maybe you're at home listening to Aaron's Opinion, drinking your blended Joe. Of course, Whistler, no, he doesn't get any coffee because he's going to refuse. He's going to refuse it. But so we'll let him drink his tea. That's fine. That's fine. And everybody else can drink blended Joe, right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, pretty good. Well, pretty cool. So, what are some, goodness, we have about a minute and a half. What are some, if you can solve one problem for the blindness community right now, what problem would you solve?
Oof, step out of the blind bubble.
Fan, that's the title of this episode. Your answers are stellar. I mean, you really belong in radio. That was a step out of the blind bubble. That was
Well,
utterly
it's funny you said that because I had my own radio station after working for 4 radio stations before YouTube.
right. Yeah. I
So I've
think I'm
been
going to
there.
have to check you out. I think you're going to be a pretty inspirational contact for me, and a pretty inspirational person on Aaron's Opinion. I think you're going to be one of our regular guests, and I'm
Okay.
looking forward to part 2, where maybe, I don't know, maybe you can talk about some strange videos that you've watched. Maybe
Sure.
you can watch a video that's not true and then have me convince you that it is, because obviously it's after I see a video it's true, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can't have it. There's a rule. If it's a video, because you know what? It's about reality, right? If I see it, it's only human nature for me to
Yeah.
think It's true. He was Whistler. I'm Aaron Richmond. Aaron's Opinion. That was a podcast for blind people. We basically